Well, hello everyone, and welcome to today's webinar. I'm Callie Waterhouse with the Arizona Association of Realtors, and today we're going to be talking about how to successfully navigate the NAR Committee Selection Process with Craig Sanford. And if you have ever thought about serving on an NAR committee, today's webinar is going to go through step by step how to navigate the process, go over some things that you really need to know to organize your thoughts, to get your recommendations, and to meet those deadlines, because apparently these deadlines are incredibly important, and even though it's over a one-year period, definitely something we need to be all in on. So we're going to get started, and just so, let's see. We are going to be covering the different committees that NAR offers, your reasons to serve, things to know before you apply, steps to a successful application. We're going to talk about endorsements and the importance of them, the timeline, what happens if you're not selected, and some steps that you can take to maybe get a more successful application through the next time around, and then we'll be answering your questions. So we're super excited today to welcome Craig Sanford, who has been in real estate for almost 40 years. Craig served as the 1999 president of the Phoenix Association of Realtors, the 2006 president of the Arizona Association of Realtors, the 2011 NAR Region 11 vice president, and now he is currently serving on 3 different NAR committees, including the Finance Committee, the Realtor Party Member Involvement Committee, and the Reserves Investment Advisory Board. So we are super thrilled and thankful to have Craig with us today, and we are going to start off today's webinar just with this short 1-minute video with 2016 NAR President-elect Bill Brown and the 2016 NAR First Vice President Elizabeth Mendenhall. So we'll watch this video and then we will welcome Craig to today's webinar.
Hi, I'm Bill Brown, your 2016 NAR President-elect.
And I'm Elizabeth Mendenhall, your 2016 First Vice President.
If you want your voice to be heard and want to contribute to the decision-making process, NAR committees are a great forum for debate and discussion.
Involvement on a national committee is tremendous experience for a future leadership role.
You know, one of my favorite things in NAR recollections was working on my first NAR committee. It really showed me how the association touches its members' business lives.
Well, and it also makes you realize how you can really affect change, not only something that impacts everything at a national level, but also at your state and local.
We recently made some important changes that will enable a more streamlined, efficient committee appointment process in 2017.
Briefly, here are the changes. First, a member must have a completed expertise profile, preferably with a photo, prior to submitting an application to serve on a committee. Members must apply to serve on a committee themselves. Applications cannot be submitted for someone else. Members may submit applications for up to 5 committees. We want you to apply for those areas that you're interested in. Members who have submitted an application to serve on a committee can obtain up to 5 endorsements from other leaders regarding their qualifications to serve on that committee.
Detailed information on the changes will be provided to all members as we get closer to the date when the committee application website opens on March 7th. In the meantime, you can begin by creating or updating your expertise profile and reviewing the timeline at realtor.org.
Bill and I encourage each of you to submit an application and stay involved. The future of our association and our industry depends on your participation. We're really looking forward to serving with you in 2017, and we thank you in advance for your commitment.
And with that being said, welcome Craig.
Hello, everybody.
Hello, Craig. So what are we going to start with today? You have been involved in the NAR committees for a while, so you are definitely our go-to person to explain how to navigate this very tricky selection process.
It's probably not as tricky this year because they modified a lot of things in the process. And the reason for the modification was really pretty simple. When you have roughly 2,500 committees and you have the great number of people that would like to be on them, they were annually having to review in excess of 8,000 applications for the limited number of spots available. So in order to try and make some sense out of this and not make it such an onerous job for the first vice president and staff to make these committee appointments, they tried to streamline it as much as possible. Now, why I say that is basically this. When I wanted to get on the Finance Committee, I probably requested 30 to 35 different people to make recommendations for me. At that point in time, it's kind of what you needed to do. But now that they've brought it down to 5 recommendations, it's going to make it a little easier. But now they've also opened it up that you can instead go for 5 committees instead of 3.
So let's talk about the different types of committees that you can serve on. On the screen are some of the different committees, but like we talked about, they're all so very different.
Extremely different. They touch every aspect of what NAR does for its members. Some of them are committees, some of them are advisory boards, but they're all designed to have each of the members have an integral part in the decision making as to what goes on for the betterment of the members.
Right. So on your screen you'll see a list of some of them, and do you want to go ahead and click the link?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So we're going to show you, it's going to come up, I know it.
Okay.
All right, so here is a list, an alphabetical list of all of the advisory boards and committees that you can apply to. How many are here, Craig? What do you think? Is there 100?
Oh, there's probably a little more than 100.
So there's more than 100 committees serving 1.2 million realtors nationwide. So which one do you want to look at?
Pick one, just highlight one.
All right, we'll go with the Finance Committee since you're on that one.
Okay.
So on the screen you'll see the purpose of the committee and the composition, the qualifications for consideration, the terms of service, and their meeting dates. Craig, why don't you touch on a little bit the composition?
The composition for each of the committees is vastly different. If you'll see that on the Finance Committee, there is comprised of 17 members. That's not a lot. This is a very, very small and concise committee. The makeup of the committee also contains members of other parts of NAR that are on the Finance Committee by virtue of that position. So if you're looking to the general membership to fill slots on this committee, each first vice president will have on any given year maybe 3 or 4 positions to fill, not very many. So when you're considering a position or a committee appointment, take a look at the composition of the committee. Some committees are quite large, which would give you a greater opportunity to be a participant. Some are not as large. Some have more members at large. Some have more association positions, whether local or state, that would create the makeup for that committee.
So you said that this committee is a little on the smaller side with 17 members.
Probably the smallest one.
So what would be an example of like maybe one of the larger ones?
You mean name-wise?
Yeah.
I can hardly see your screen. But pull on the diversity committee, just right there, just to see what it is.
All right, so the diversity committee has 41 members.
Okay, and that's probably average.
And this one only serves a 1-year term.
Most of your committee appointments are 1-year terms. Some are 2,
Okay.
some are 3, just depends. But the great majority of them are 1-year appointments.
So we have all of these different committees that people can apply to. So let's talk about why serve on these committees. Why would somebody want to devote themselves to serving on an NAR committee?
I would say the primary reason would be that a member has a certain passion about a certain aspect of the real estate industry, whether it's professional standards or ethics or even diversity, and feel they can make a difference in the decision-making process for the betterment of all the members. I think I liken it to a more local, more basic scenario. If you were to live in a homeowners association and have complaints about how the HOA is managed, and you speak your mind, and the next thing you know, someone says, well, then why don't you get on the board?
Mm-hmm.
It really turns into be a beneficial experience because you learn more of the workings. You have a voice in what goes on, have a say in what goes on, and you also now understand a greater breadth of what other people are saying in that same topic.
So the benefits of serving, you want to give back, but what do you receive?
A greater knowledge of what the different parts of NAR really are, specifically that committee, more how it works, more how things get done, more how things end up coming to the member on the street for their livelihood. In addition, you get to know some super people from around the country. I'm a people person. I feel that it's so important to know more people. All right, sure, you might get some referrals from different parts of the country. I say that'd be a side benefit. That's not something I'm looking to do as a primary benefit. But the feeling of helping something come to fruition that's going to be a betterment in the life of the member, which is me as well, is kind of nice. It's kind of fun.
And we talked a little bit, what's the price of being involved? You apply to one of these committees, you agree to serve on a 1, 2, 3-year term. What's the price?
The price is basically this. If you are already in leadership and your association is already covering part of your travel, it's a great opportunity to learn more about the association when it's not at your wallet's expense. However, if you're not traveling on association business wherein your costs are being covered, then it's out of your own pocket. And it can get expensive, but fortunately they try and maintain the 2 meetings a year as the primary meetings. If there happens to be other meetings called throughout the year, then they will typically pay for the air and hotel expense in that one. I do know that there are some associations across the country that will give a stipend to their member for being on a committee. The Arizona Association is not one of them.
Okay. So there's a little bit of a financial commitment involved, a time commitment.
Right, especially if you're looking at your summer meetings in DC coming up in May, you're basically looking at about a 5 or 6 day stay plus airfare, food, taxis. So it can run up to a couple of $1,000 pretty quick.
So definitely a commitment. All right, so let's just dig right in here and talk about some steps to take before you apply for the committee. And Craig, number 1, have you attended an NAR meeting that you're interested in?
Well, first you need to find out what your passion is or what you want to be involved with. I would say it this way, there's nothing worse than applying to a committee, being successful, and then getting there and finding out that this is not for you. It's a waste of everybody's time and energy. So determine what your passions are. Talk to people. If you have never been to an NAR committee meeting in the past, talk to somebody. Find out what those committee meetings are like. There's a ton of stuff on the internet under realtor.org. Research it. There's a list of people in our state that are on the committees currently. Look that up. Talk to that person. Make sure that's the committee that you're interested in, because when you do make application 1 through 5 on different committees, it's going to be your first choice, second choice, third choice, not just 1, 2, or 3 committees.
So are the committee meetings open to the public to attend?
Generally speaking, the committee meetings are always open. The actual committee members will have basically designated seating, and then visitors and or excess staff will be in chairs around different parts of the room. And if you do attend a meeting, then make sure you go up at the end of the meeting and sign the guest register. Because if you're there strictly as a guest this time but planning to go into that meeting or apply for that meeting in the future, it helps to have introduced yourself to the staff person, to the vice chair, and to maybe anybody else that you know that's on that committee, because they may be prime people to make the recommendation for you next year.
So, and does every committee have a guest book?
To my knowledge, they do.
Okay, so that's definitely something that
It's more,
you want to do.
More a sheet of paper, but yes.
Okay, so we know what to do ahead of time. Let's talk about the steps to take to a successful application. We hear more and more and more about this expertise profile, and apparently now it's important.
It's been important all the way along. In the past, you had a place to put your photograph, apply for your own committees, do a little bio on yourself, etc. They've shortened the personal bio portion to 250 characters. So I would say play with your bio to make sure you get the most bang for your character out of this. The other thing I probably recommend is they say that you can, but don't have to put a photograph on your bio. I would say, in my opinion, you must, and it must be a current photograph, not your high school photograph unless you graduated last year. And the reason for that is this. This is a people business. It's a people meeting. And when you're walking the halls of these meetings, you're going to see their faces before you ever see their name tag. And when you're applying for a committee and they see your face on there, they might recognize your face before they would ever recognize your name. And so that connection between those two is, in my opinion, extremely important.
Okay, so up to date. Talk a little bit about the 250 characters. Is this just, hi, my name is Callie, I work here, I'm good at this, and I love to drink iced tea? What are you putting in that bio?
You're talking about your passion and your past involvement on the local and state level to the degree that you have it. Maybe you've been on a committee, but maybe you chaired a PAG or something of that nature that dealt with the topic that particular committee will have. Put in there as much of the meat of your experience and passion that you can.
And so you would really thoughtfully do that if you were applying to 5 different committees?
Well, it's on your profile, so it's got to be inclusive. You get 250 characters, and to include it for 5 committees is going to be tough. Mm-hmm. Before you could rattle on forever, but you're going to have to do some shortcuts. If you've been on some committees and have experience, it's going to be tight to get it all in there.
So really think that through.
But I would say this: that's for your expertise profile. You're going to have the opportunity on every one of your committee applications to ask 5 people to make a recommendation for you. And do you want to go into that now?
I do want to do that now. Let's talk about the 5 endorsements.
Okay. On every one of your committee applications, you will be able to ask 5 people to make a recommendation for you. My thought process is like this. First, start top down on who you ask. In other words, start at NAR, go to state, go to local. The chances are that more people on the NAR level that gives you a better shot, because if you're only putting in local leadership, maybe NAR doesn't know them. So give yourself as large a field as you can. The next highlight I'd like to say is this. Go to your Word document and create maybe 5 or 6 different bios for yourself. If you're applying for the diversity committee, then that bio should be a little bit more contained with the diversity. Professional standards, more like that. And then on each one of those, before you send that out to 5 different people for, let's say, the diversity committee, for each person, modify it a little bit, because you can't be assured that who you ask to make a recommendation for you won't cut and paste into your application, into your recommendation. I feel that each one needs to be a little different so that whoever's looking at these can say, well, this person took their time. They're not all the same. It's a little bit more work, but I feel that it gives you that one more notch of someone took personal time to do this, whether they did or did not. So make sure that those 5 people all are dealing with the committee topic. All 5 of those little bios are slightly different for the first choice. Second choice, same scenario, 5 different little paragraphs, 5 different little bios to 5, they may be 5 different people.
So potentially, if you're applying to 5 different committees, you could have 25 different people making an endorsement.
Correct. And these people are going to be people you'll select from a drop-down list that's inside the committee selection process. It's not just a member recommending a member.
Okay.
I would say don't have a member recommend a member. It needs to have somebody that's had some leadership in the past, because if they're going to give a recommendation, they're going to give a recommendation on what they know from prior experience. Now, the difference here is, in years past, people would send recommendations into me as, let's say, as a past RVP, give me no knowledge about themselves, just ask me to make a recommendation. They would do it at the last minute, so I had no time to do anything else. And yet, if I were to be asked, did I make the recommendation, it didn't, that wouldn't be good for me, so I'd always feel like I had to make the recommendation, even though there was no substance to it, so I didn't help anybody out. So think these things out. Whoever you ask to make that recommendation, think it out, help them do their job for you.
And give them time.
And don't do it last minute. These I don't have the exact date in front of me, but these committee appointment time slots usually stop about 7 or 8 days after the mid-year meetings.
We have the timeline coming up, so we'll
Yeah,
double check.
it's coming up in mid to late May.
Yeah. Wow. All right, so let's talk about the timeline for the appointment process, since that just was the perfect segue.
Oh, good. Hide that from me. Huh? Okay.
So the application process is now opened a few weeks ago.
A few weeks ago.
Yeah, and it closes May 23rd.
Okay.
So we have
All
about 6 weeks or so-ish. All right, and then May 30th through June 6th, the State Association review and rank all committee applications from members within their state. What's this?
Basically, that means that all the people that do supply a request for committee, that list does come back to the state AE to make sure that A, these members are in good standing, that there's not some reason that they shouldn't go forward for final review. They don't want to have someone that may, let's pull a wild one out of the air. Let's say someone's being disciplined for something that the state would know about, but NAR wouldn't know about when it comes to real estate. So this gives the AE a chance to say, wait a minute, time out on this person. We have a problem with them.
Gotcha.
It gives NAR and the AE a chance to dialogue.
So just in case, we want to, dot our I's and cross our T's. So that's where this point comes in.
Exactly.
And then on June 6th, the State Association ranking period closes. Can you touch a little bit about ranking the committee applications?
I don't know much about that. That's kind of like an AE thing.
Is it?
My guess would be basically if you had 4 people apply for the same committee, in the AE's mind with the experience that they have in the state, which one would you say would be the better one if there's only one coming to that committee out of that state?
Gotcha. Okay, and then looks like in August, the NAR committee chair and vice chair finalized the appointments, and in September, the AEs and the ISEs and the EVPs review everything. In September is another deadline for the State Association and the ISC's feedback.
And basically that is, again, it's another bite at the apple to say, do you have a problem with this person being on this committee? Has something changed that we're not aware of from the last time we took a look at this application?
So I'm going to put you on the spot for a minute, Craig. What is an ISC?
ISC, it's a affiliate, like CCIM,
Okay.
Women's Council.
Like, I know all these other things.
Societies and whatever. Institute of Societies. All right, I stopped there.
All right, and then in September, the committee appointment letters are emailed. In October, the rosters are posted. In November, we have our Realtor Party Training Conference in San Francisco. And then in May of next year, we have our Trade Expo. But let's go back to, I guess in October is when you find out that you're on the committee.
It's usually about the end of the first week, maybe the second week, is you'll tend to find your email come in and it'll say you've been appointed. I don't know if they send a declined letter. I think it's mostly you've been selected to serve.
Congratulations, you have been accepted.
And basically they say if you've been accepted, but if you wish to decline, no further action is necessary unless you wish to decline, then get back to us. Otherwise, you're on.
Okay. So it sounds like it's really important to have the correct email address.
Well, it would be nice. If you really want to be on the committee, I suppose getting that notice would be good.
So also, folks, just so you know, this timeline has been uploaded into the system so you can easily download it onto your computer. It's under the handouts where we have the committee structure document, the timeline, and then a flyer for the NAR commitment committee appointments. That committee structure document, just so you know, is like 80 plus pages and is just a plethora of information of everything you could possibly want to know.
It's so much better than it used to be. It used to be you could hardly find anything. Now there's a huge list of frequently asked questions. It'll take you some time to go through there, but if you do take that time, you'll get most of your answers covered through there.
So, you know, we've talked about what to do before the application, what to do during the application. So what I hear are those 5 endorsements seem to be extremely important.
They're huge. We had this dialogue at the leadership conference in Prescott with Kenny about, you know, who should you have on that.
And Kenny is who?
Kenny Parcells, current regional vice president.
Okay.
Because this is a new system. My feeling is, as I said previously, start it top down, NAR. If you don't know anybody in NAR, then state AE, state president, go through there. If you don't know any of those, you're probably going to be a little bit out of luck, but you have to start somewhere. But ask. You know, contact AAR, contact your local AE or your local president and see what they can help you with, or call me. That's fine too. But my feeling is, yes, start high and work down. Kenny's statement would be one different. He said that he would definitely put one of the people as a state AE. In my opinion, that might be good for certain committees, but if you've got 5 people that would be, in a sense, stronger than the state AE, knowing the state AE gets 2 different looks at this committee list, I am a little bit reluctant to use them as one of my recommenders.
So on your screen, what you see is the Diversity Committee, and this is just a list that's available online for every committee of their members. So good idea or not to contact these folks for an endorsement?
I would say if you know somebody, because this, to do it out of the blue and ask somebody on there that you don't know, there's a very good likelihood they wouldn't maybe give you the best recommendation.
Sure.
I would say go to that list and find out who you know and make a phone call. I'm considering this committee. What are your thoughts? And at the very end, if you're still in tune to putting a request in for that committee, then ask them if they would give you a recommendation if you were to forward them one of the links that you'll have available to do that very thing with.
To make it easy for them.
This whole thing is more about make it easy, talk to people, be inclusionary, but when you drop something on somebody's desk at the last minute and don't give them any information on what to do, it becomes problematic.
That makes sense. I was looking for that link that we talked about earlier about the states.
You said you knew where that was.
I know.
and my computer went blank, so try that. There you are.
There we are. So on this screen are all these wonderful links that we were looking at earlier. And if you wanted to see who is currently serving by state, you're going to come over here and click on Arizona. And this will give you a list of everybody in the state of Arizona who is currently serving. And Craig, I'm going to pull you up here.
And when their term expires.
And when and what committee they're serving on. So if you were looking to serve on the Finance Committee, you would see that Craig's name is here. He's serving on the Finance Committee. He's a member. He's been a member since 2014 and will serve for another year. So would you be a good person to contact for an endorsement?
I am, because of the drop-down list, and one of the items on the drop-down list is past regional vice president. So I would be actually a better candidate from that than I would be as a member of the Finance Committee.
Interesting. And why is that?
Because when you go to being a member of the Finance Committee, now it's basically being a member recommending a member.
Gotcha.
Instead of a position of leadership or current or past making a recommendation.
Okay, so you are an excellent person for people to reach out to.
Call me, email me. If I have an answer for you, then that's perfect.
Okay, and with the deadline coming up in May, reaching out to you now, being April, is better than waiting till May 1st.
I have already received 2 requests for recommendations for people here in Arizona, and one from a person in New Mexico.
Wow. So that's very good. So you definitely want to take a look at this list and see, where the people in Arizona are serving. And, if you were, not sure, then this is a good place to start.
Ask, talk to people. Why are you on this committee? What's the committee's discussion points? Do you think I would be a good contributor to the committee? So talk to them. I would be willing to bet there's not one person on that list that wouldn't give you the best information right out of their packet of information to help you through the process. Especially if you're a new member to leadership in your local associations. We understand that you're not going to have the breadth of knowledge or access to people to get these recommendations in. So reach out, ask, talk.
It seems like the way to go.
Well, it's family.
Yeah, and it's definitely a network.
It is a network, and it becomes even, the more you get involved, the more you find out that we're all in this together, and it's a common goal, and it's absolutely amazing as to how big NAR really is, that you can become a member of a committee and become friends with so many people so quickly, yet it's a huge moving item.
Constantly. And like we talked about, serving, over 1 million members, there's a lot of P's and Q's, over 100 different committees trying to keep all the pieces of the puzzle together.
It's a big puzzle.
It's a very big puzzle. All right, so what if I don't get selected this time around? I had my 5 endorsements, I completed my application on time, I did everything I was supposed to do, but somebody else took my spot. What do I do next?
Well, the first thing I would say is don't get remorseful about it. You learned a lot in the process. So now you work to find out a way that you can get to know more people, know more about the committee, talk to staff, get yourself noticed, engage in whatever committee area of expertise that might be, so that when this comes around next year, you will have maybe a broader bio, a more pronounced bio. You've had an opportunity to meet more of leadership, and maybe you would have a stronger cast of members providing the endorsements. So don't worry about it, just work towards it. I go back to Finance Committee. I will tell you, I know that with 3 or 4 people annually being selected to that committee, I know that out of 1 million plus members, there's got to be 400 or 500 people applying to that.
Oh my goodness.
And maybe more. I have no clue. So, is everybody going to get selected? No. You just keep trying. At some point, if it just isn't going to work and you feel frustrated, then go to a different committee. We get recognized by going to a different committee. That's why we talked earlier about looking at the big numbered committees with 50, 40 members. I think there's some with 60 members. So, but get involved so you get noticed. The more you get noticed by staff, and trust me, if you get noticed by staff does have input in it. When they're sitting down with this big old stack of people applying for committees and the recommendations, and somebody says, I don't know this person, and staff says, well, you know what, I do. They've been at this meeting the last 6 years, and they talk to me every time, and they really have the interest. I'm going to tell you something. They'll listen to staff.
So 500 people applying for 3 or 4 positions.
It could be more.
There's a good chance you're not going to get in.
No, excellent chance you couldn't get in.
So that's the time to stop, take a step back, and build your network, talk to staff, attend these meetings, attend the expos and the trade shows.
Well, I think the trade show and expo, you need to know what else is going on around you. That's part of it. But you definitely need to go to these meetings and sit in on these committees to find out, one, where's your passion? And then when you find that passion, then you need to figure out, is this a committee that I can get onto easy enough? One, you couldn't sit in on the finance committee. That is one, it is closed. That's executive session all the way through. But that's, to my knowledge, other than that, and leadership team, all the committees are open. I forgot what I was going to say now, what we're talking about, the size of the committee. Mm-hmm. Oh, here's why I say start networking with more people on the national level. I wanted to get on the finance committee very, very badly. And before I put in for the committee, I did my homework and I asked people if they would put in a recommendation for me. I got real lucky that in 2 of the people that I asked, it was found out that they were on the selection committee. Now, you never know who that's going to be. That's not a publicized list. But when I told them what I was liking to accomplish, they both said, I'm glad you told me. I'm on the selection committee. I have to think that helped me get there my first shot. But I do know of a couple people that have tried, and they've never made it. It's not unfair to say I have an ultimate goal. Here's what I'd like to chair this committee someday. It's not unfair to say that. It takes some work to get there. but there should be a goal involved.
So it seems like we just briefly touched on, in leadership in real estate, start at the local level. Build your network, meet people, really commit to the greater good at the local level. From there, go to the state level. You were on the legislative.
I'm currently on legislative. I've chaired it probably at least 3 or 4 times in the past. When I came off of local leadership, I was asked if I would vice chair professional development, which I said I would. The next year I chaired it, but I was also asked by that next incoming president if I would vice chair legislative political affairs. It was a different name at that time, which I did. So that was my start. People found me. I didn't apply, So get started on the state level, because you get a lot of experience there by all means.
And also get to know the AEs.
Yeah, you need to know. It's a people business. The more you know, the more people you know, the more beautiful things happen.
So if you had to choose one, and I'm really going to put you on the spot with this one, serving people, serving real estate.
Oh, serving people, because in serving real estate, I'm still serving people. It's just a more formal application of it, more organized application of it.
So you really need a love for people, or serving people, helping out.
I know what I want to say. I don't know how I'm going to say it.
Told you I was going to put you on the spot.
Yeah, well, it's not so much. I say it this way. I don't wake up every day and say I'm going to serve people. I wake up every day, though, and when I meet people, I do things to make their day a little better, hopefully. If I see someone that's not smiling, you'll see me take 2 fingers and put it on the side of my mouth and lift my lips up into a smile. They can't help but start laughing. So that's what I do. I'm not serious 100% of the time, but I don't want somebody else's life to go by the wayside in a grumpy, I have a problem attitude. If you have a problem, let's talk about it. Let's get it over with. Let's move on. It's too pretty of a day out there.
Are you able to do that or maintain that same mentality or outlook serving on the Finance Committee?
Actually, I will say this about the Finance Committee and the Reserves Investment Advisory Board. If you want a brain challenge, there's so much information there that it's a high of its own. Just because now you do see how the association works, how it runs. Some things don't get boilerplated or don't get funded like you. Some people say, well, it's just a boilerplate. You ask, they find this stuff. Trust me, it's not that way. There's a lot of pride goes into protecting the National Association of Realtors name, history, budget, members, everything. There's a lot of pride in that room.
Well, Craig, thank you very much for joining us today. If our members wanted to reach out to you, what's the best way to contact you?
My email is craig@craigsanford.com.
Craig@craigsanford.com. Well, thank you very much. Any closing remarks today?
I hope we covered it all, but I'm sure we didn't.
So the most important thing is application on time, meet the deadlines.
Don't do it at the last minute and give the people making a recommendation for you time to do it. They have a life too.
So, and the 5 endorsements are extremely key.
That, and keep in mind too that the people making the recommendations for you are limited to 250 characters as well.
Oh my. Wow. So brief, concise, and to the point. Well, thank you very much for joining us today. And then our next upcoming, we have a May and a June webinar we want to make sure you know about with Nobu Hata from the National Association of Realtors. We're going to be talking about managing and serving the millennial agent in your office. And if you were at Spring Convention in March, you know that he touched on this just a little bit. And then in June, Regine Christopher is going to be joining us, and she is a public speaker, a national speaker, and we're going to be talking about using the DISC profiles for real estate teams. And as always, you can register online at aaronline.com/calendar. So folks, thank you so much for joining us today. As always, today's webinar has been recorded and will be available on our website within the week. If you have any questions or ideas for upcoming webinars, feel free to reach out to me. I'm Callie Waterhouse with the Arizona Association of Realtors. Thank you very much for joining us and have a great day.